What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 11 of the Mojo MMA show. I'm your host, Mo, with my co-host, Joe. And man, we had a fucking exciting night of fights. They promised and they delivered. I had so much fun watching these fights. I mean, I think our breakdowns were pretty spot on throughout the night. Even if the result didn't go how we thought, just the fight went how we thought. And I'm excited. Today, we're going to break down and recap what we saw in UFC 299. And we're going to go on to predict and break down UFC Fight Night Tuivasa versus Tybura.
Yeah, these fights were probably one of my favorite fights of the year so far.
Right?
They were, I mean, not a single fight on the card wasn't like crazy or didn't have something fun happen in it. I mean, from the very get-go, Petr Yan versus Song Yadong from the first fight on the main card. I mean, that fight was excellent. One of the best fights of the year. I mean, it definitely delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with that first fight, Yan versus Yadong, the boys came to scrap. I mean, I think you had a pretty good breakdown on this. First round went to Yadong. He had a really strong start. He started how we all thought he would, and his striking was on the level that we thought, like on the level of Yan. He was able to land and win exchanges against Yan, which was super impressive to see, especially considering he's only 26 years old. So that's a huge thing. But I think Alexander Volkanovski pointed it out, and Yan looked like he got hurt in the first round. He said every time he stepped that his leg would buckle every time. But Yan was able to overcome that, show resiliency, and come back and win the next two rounds, especially the third one. He put an exclamation point on it.
Yeah, whenever I broke this one down, it was really hard for me because I know Song Yadong is so fast off the start. It was just a matter of whether or not he could keep it that fast for the second and third round. And those were the two rounds I had in my mind that I was probably leaning towards Song Yadong maybe the second round. That's why I thought it would be a split decision. And then Petr Yan sealed both rounds with a takedown. And his boxing looked great. His defense looked great. It was an all-around great performance for both of these guys. I mean, both of these guys are right up there at the very top too. So we'll see what's next for them.
Yeah, for that fight, it was just, is Yadong's pace gonna go through the second round, or is Petr Yan gonna pick it up in the second, knowing that it's only a 3-round fight? But yeah, that was amazing. Next fight on the card, fucking wow. Banger. Like it went exactly how I thought it was gonna go up until that one fucking knee. My gosh. But Gilbert Burns came through, and like I said, he controlled him. He was winning exchanges on the feet, and JDM was there. For me, JDM showed a lot of resiliency in this. He showed a lot of composure, especially, I think, because Burns was controlling the pace with striking, with takedown. But I mean, JDM did not give up. You know, he held his composure when he was on the ground. He found his way back up. When he was getting landed on, he wasn't overreacting, and he was still finding combos in between. But they were like very few, and I wish he would pick up the pace a little more throughout the fight. But he was able to keep his composure and find the knockout.
Yeah, this fight was one of my favorite fights in the last card to break down before the fight started, because I just knew Jack Della Maddalena's his striking and his combos that he puts together and his patience in the pocket was going to shine. And I mean, it took 3 rounds for it to really happen, for him to get the perfect shot, land that perfect shot. But I think what you said was pretty true about his patience and his composure throughout the whole fight, even though he got taken down, I think, 7 times. And then Gilbert Burns, on the other hand, I still see the same Gilbert Burns that throws big looping shots and hopes and land. He lands a lot of those shots, but I mean, against a guy with Jack Della Maddalena's patience and his combos and his counters, it didn't work against him. So I thought that was an awesome finish in the third round.
Yeah, so one thing we have to do, I'm not going to ignore it. I don't know if you were going to ignore it. I didn't know if you were going to bring it up, but I do have to shotgun a beer, but I might just chug it because I don't have a shotgun, so I do have a fucking key, but I don't want to make a mess in my area.
If y'all watched the last episode, we had a bet on this one, and in the bet, I specifically said, I asked if it had to end by knockout, and then I said, you know what, I don't give a fuck, it's gonna end by knockout anyways, by Jack Della Maddalena. So
yeah, that was ridiculous. I was so close, a minute away, but yeah, that scramble was enough. All right, I'll shotgun it then. I won't just chug it, but got my towel to keep it from being too messy. And it's fucking cold. I hate chugging cold fucking beverages. I should have set this bitch out for a minute.
Man, this fight was so good. The striking in this fight was elite. The takedowns. I had a bet for Gilbert Burns to land more than 2 takedowns, which I thought was a crazy bet, given that he wasn't going to want to stand with JDM, and that bet obviously hit.
I told you. Oh my god.
It's so.
Oh my god, soaked. Good thing it splashed this way and not towards my setup. And that's how you know it's a fresh beer. It's not a fucking pre-opened beer.
Yep, he goes a 35-second shotgun.
I would say 20.
Oh. Next time it's gonna be a 4 Loko.
Yeah, fuck that. I'd rather die. There's no way I'm ever having a 4 Loko ever again. Oh, damn. I'm about to go top golfing too, so hopefully that improves my swing. All right, but next fight on the card, like, fuck, this was banger after, just as we thought. Like, yeah, this card fucking delivered. MVP versus Kevin Holland. MVP, who we touched on the last card or the last podcast, is my favorite fighter outside of the UFC. This guy from the walkout entertained. I love that Undertaker thing, and when he was coming out with the Undertaker thing, I was like, I wonder if he's gonna have the full cape and everything, and he did the full fucking walkout. And then he not only came out to the Undertaker song, but then he went on to entertain it with dancing, and it was so fun just from the beginning of the walkouts. And then they both come out and deliver a fucking electric fight. One-sided electric fight.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin Holland just looked so frustrated. I thought Kevin Holland would be able to withstand it and kind of give his own kind of style, but he wasn't able to impose his style on him. It was a dominant performance by Michael Venom Page for sure.
Yeah, dominant. He showed, even at this age, he's 36, he showed that he's fucking fast, he's precise. Yeah. And if Kevin Holland didn't have a fucking granite chin, I think he would have been out. I think we underestimated his chin. It literally takes a man's fucking head crushing into his skull to fucking rock him. But there was a few of those spinning back elbows, right? When he would make Kevin Holland bite, and bang, he would come out the back with those. And they landed. I think it landed 3 fucking times, and it didn't even look to phase him, Kevin Holland. But at the end of the third round, you really saw him get really frustrated not being able to touch Michael Page. And the one thing about Michael is when I see him, he just looks super clean. Like, he has no tattoos. He just looks like a super clean dude. And he left the fight looking super clean. He didn't have a scratch on him, which is another impressive thing. So, I mean, if he's able to stand with the Kevin Hollands of this division, I'm excited to see how far he could take it. He said he's here for the gold, and shit, he might just get there. Oh, and another thing before I stop breaking this fight down was I love the adversity in this fight. Because he did get in a terrible position against the jiu-jitsu black belt. He slipped, and Kevin Holland found his way to the back with his arm under the neck, and I was like, fuck, is this the way it ends? But no, he showed that he was able to get past that.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think I thought when Kevin Holland got him down, I thought it was over. Because you saw those elbows. You could tell how pissed off Kevin Holland was. He was raining elbows on him. And, I mean, he absorbed a lot of elbows, but I thought he would be more damaged after that round going into the third. But he came into the third, did the same exact thing he did in the first, so it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and you saw his cardio was there because he was still bouncing light on his feet in the third round. I loved the timing. I loved everything about this fight. It was super exciting. And I'm excited to see what comes out coming forward for MVP. Next fight, fucking fight of the night. Amazing fucking fight. It only needed 2 rounds, but they were packed. We have Dustin Poirier beating BSD by knockout in the second round. Give me your thoughts on this fight.
This is probably my favorite. This is one of my favorite Dustin Poirier fights of all time. Just given the odds that were against him in the fight, he was fighting an up and coming dude that everyone was saying he was the scariest dude in the division. Knockout power, great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. I mean, it was a scary fight for the first 2 rounds that it went. And my breakdown in the last video, I had Dustin Poirier. I told everyone that BSD was going to throw his crazy punches and then shoot the takedown. He was going to catch him in the guillotine. And it almost happened only about 9 times. But, I mean, I thought that was such a good bet. I mean, it was plus 1,000 for the submission. And he hit that. He attempted it, I think, 9 times. So I mean, I'll take that bet every single time.
Yeah, and all times that he put it in there, it was tight. It wasn't, oh, he
Yeah.
was forcing it. It was in there. BSD's just fucking strong and was able to fucking
Yeah.
get out of all of them, especially the first one. He had to create that scramble because it was like directly underneath
Yeah, it was.
the neck. Yeah, and I feel like he could have finished any of those on any other person but BSD. But I mean, I don't think BSD at lowers his stock at all. I mean, I think
Hell no.
he realizes he needs to improve in his striking and be able to get in and out. But one thing is, it might be that staph infection. It might be the antibiotics slowing him down because he did look a bit more sluggish in this fight. Maybe it could be that. It could be in the first round that they exerted so much energy that he was so tired in that second round. It could be a combination of the two, but I mean, that's just something to note moving forward. But I mean, I think they both look good. BSD showed he can wrestle, he can strike, he can, do it all. The only thing was he was getting in the pocket, but he wasn't coming back out. And then once Dustin caught him once, it was basically over,
Yeah, normally in his fights, when he gets in the pocket, he throws and then he shoots the takedown immediately. This time he stayed around just a little too long with a guy that was a guy that's extremely good in the pocket. Like you remember the Dan Hooker fight up against the fence?
Yeah.
Even though he did take a lot of strikes, I mean, he pieced him up pretty good against the fence. But yeah, I think Dustin Poirier looked like he was probably in the best shape of his life too. He had he looked like he had an 8-pack up in there.
Yeah, he did. I don't remember who I was with. Someone was saying that he looked small, but I think it was just he looked fucking cut.
Yeah, he was cut.
Yeah, so that's a fucking anyone that's saying that he was ending near the end of his career or getting closer to retirement. I think he put all that to bed. And he might even get the title shot after that because who he beat and the way he beat him. I mean, I think, and then everyone else has a fight booked. So, I mean, I think it's possible that Islam's next defense is against Poirier, which would be a fun matchup.
You know what's crazy about that is Gaethje and Holloway are both booked for a fight, and Gaethje is the only other guy that should face Islam for the belt, and Holloway is the only guy that should face Topuria if Volk can't fight him.
Yeah.
So I thought that's a pretty terrible fight to make.
Yeah, I hate it. We get to the main event, the only fight on this card that could have been boring, and it wasn't. I think it was an absolute masterclass by O'Malley, and I think he showed why he's the champ. A lot of people doubted his route to the title, including me, including me. But man, he showed it in this one. His striking defense, everything was, I mean, phenomenal. He showcased some of the best striking we've seen in the UFC.
Yeah, honestly, I thought his combos. I was in the middle of the fight. I think round 2. I was like, there is no way that Sean O'Malley can keep up this pace. It was like a sprinting pace the whole fight. For I think round 4, he took off round 4 just a little bit. I mean, he got a little bit the most in round 4, but then after that, he found success in round 5, and then bounced right back, and then went straight full metal pedal to the metal the whole 5th round, and then the end of the fight, he got caught with that mean body shot. But I think the only reason why if anyone were to ever say, like, if that fight would have kept going, if the fight would have kept going, Sean O'Malley wouldn't have been in the pocket with him trading like that. The only reason why he got caught by that body shot is because he stayed in the pocket and threw it all on the line for all the fans, and I think that he definitely deserves to gain a lot of fans after that.
Yeah, I think if anyone's gonna say that, it's you, because you're the one that's always advocating for no time limit fights. But for sure, yeah, he did put himself out there to get caught like that. But that did prove 2 things. One, if what Cheeto needed to do was make that fight uglier. He needed to provoke those exchanges. He needed to, after he threw his combo, maybe he's a little out of position, but so is O'Malley, re-engaged immediately. But I mean, I feel like that maybe would have been his only path to victory. But I mean, he showed he has power. He hurt him, right?
Yeah.
He, especially like in that 5th round is where he started to land. He landed his knee, and then he landed that body shot, which sat O'Malley down, which proved he had the power to beat him. He just didn't have the technique to be able to land that throughout the fight.
Yeah, I think Sugar Sean was just too fast. He had no chance to even try to do anything. He was in and out before he could even think about his next move.
Yeah, O'Malley and I'm pretty sure Cheeto have the same exact reach. So it's not the reach, but I know there's a saying that reach doesn't matter unless you have the height to go with it, and O'Malley does, and he has the striking technique to be able to strike from a distance and be in and out, without getting tagged back.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking fun night. I can't wait for you. The next fucking pay-per-view is UFC 300, so Yeah, and we're counting down till then, and that's gonna be an exciting one. Maybe we'll both shotgun a beer right before shotgun, maybe 2 even. Get us
Okay.
pumped a little more for that one. But that takes us to this next fight night with fucking 2 heavyweights clashing. It's gonna be UFC Fight Night Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. We'll start at the bottom of the card for this one. We have GM3 versus Brian Barberena. And one thing to note about these 2 guys is these 2 guys fucking fight the best of the best. These guys are fighting the top of the division. You know, they're not a part of the top division. They're not really winning these fights. But, I mean, if there's 2 guys that get fed to the wolves, it's these 2 guys. We'll start with breaking down this fight. Brian Barberena has lost his last 3 fights to Makhmud Muradov, Gunnar Nelson, and RDA. But, I mean, like I said, he's been fighting tough competition. This guy's fought such notable names. The only win in those notable names is going to be Robbie Lawler. But he's also fought the champ, Leon Edwards. He's fought Colby Covington. He's fought Vicente Luque. Like, this guy is fighting the best of the best. When I break down this fight, I see that Barberena has out of his last 3 losses, 2 of them were by submission, which is not a way you want to be losing when you're going against a guy like GM3. Gerald Meerschaert is a fucking shark when it comes to submissions. This guy is an elite grappler. He has lost 3 of his last 4, but the way I see this fight coming down to is a win by submission on GM3's part. He's also fought tough competition. You know, this guy got fed to Hamzat. He's fought Holland, Krzysztof Jotko, Joe Pyfer, and he just lost to Petrosky. But I think throughout this fight, I think GM3 is going to find a way to sub Barberena. So my official pick is going to be maybe an early submission.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the odds on the Better app, and there's a bet for Brian Barberena to land over or under 24 strikes in this fight. And that sounded crazy to me, just given that he's fought so many good guys and his experience level. But Gerald Meerschaert could catch him very early in a submission, and if he does, it's over. And being that he's susceptible to losing by submission in his last few fights, I'm going to go ahead and pick Gerald Meerschaert on this one too. But I'm taking Brian Barberena to get over 24 strikes for sure. That's one of my favorite picks on the app right now. But I think it's not going to be that early. I think that Brian Barberena knows that he could get taken down and submitted very easily, and he's going to keep it at distance and utilize his striking.
One thing I did note when looking into these 2 fighters is Barberena wins the fights where he strikes a lot. In fights where he's able to land a lot, he wins. In fights where he's not able to land a lot, he loses. His last 3 fights is going to be 28 strikes, and that was a decision. He got armbarred, he had 7 strikes, and the fight before that, he got rear naked choked, and he only had 14 strikes against RDA. So I don't know. I don't think I like the over on that. I think I like the under on that.
Look at the fights before that, though. I think,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Fights he's able
Lawler,
to win.
I think Robbie Lawler, he landed 200 strikes in 2 rounds. And then there was another fight where he landed over 100 strikes in a round or 2 rounds, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm taking Gerald Meerschaert is kind of a punching bag sometimes. He could show up and fight like he did against Andre Petrosky and then kind of give it up. I don't know what the hell happened there, but he could also show up like the Joe Pyfer fight and get touched a couple times and just go ahead and tap out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fight we'll have to wait and see. But next on the card, we have Penny Kianze versus Macy Chiasson, which, I mean, it's a good fight in the bantamweight division. You know, they're going to be fighting, and it probably was going to be a technical showcase. These are 2 actual technical strikers in that women's bantamweight division. Kianze has shown precise striking, and she's shown that she's also well-rounded when coming into this fight. She's outclassed all of the opponents that she's beat. She's looked head and shoulders above everyone else that she's fought. But Chiasson has a very aggressive style, and she can end fights. So, I mean, this is going to be a super hard one to pick. But I'm going to take Chiasson by finish. I think this will be too aggressive.
That's kind of what I was thinking. The only thing I was kind of iffy on is that she's been out of the fight game for a little over a year. So I'm interested to see how she bounces back in this fight. But super excited for that fight.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait for that one to come. All right, next fight. This is probably the fight of the night. This one I'm so excited for. Christian Rodriguez versus Isaac Dolgarian. which we had a lot of questions about Isaac this last time he fought, but I think he put them all to rest. But this is promising to be a good fight.
Yeah, the way this looks on paper is boxer versus wrestler, but you see Christian Rodriguez's fight with Raul Rosas 2 fights ago, and he was able to win a lot of the wrestling exchanges they had and reverse a lot of the positions that he was in. And I mean, he looked good in it, but the only thing is he was fighting at bantamweight, and he was missing weight constantly fighting at bantamweight. And now he's moving up a weight class. He's a very good boxer. He's a good, decent at wrestling. I think his last fight was Cameron Simon.
Yeah.
That was a very good fight. He fought a wrestler, a great up and coming striker, and now he's going back to fight a great wrestler, striker, very explosive fighter. He's got 6 fights, 6 wins, first round finishes. I remember that when this guy first came against Francis Firehouse Marshall, he was the underdog, I believe, but we took him for a first round finish, and he ended up dominating that fight. It was a little, I mean, in the UFC, it's hard to judge the competition outside the UFC, but Francis Marshall was a good fighter, and his takedown was a little unorthodox. He just exploded through him there was no chance.
Right.
And Christian Rodriguez going up to featherweight, I think, is going to be the deciding factor in this fight, because I think had they fought at 135, it'd be a closer fight. But I think with Isaac Dogarian, with his explosiveness and his power and his size, I think it's going to be too much for Christian Rodriguez this fight. Even though Christian Rodriguez has passed his last 2 tests, I think this one's a bit different. I think Isaac Dogarian's power and his speed and his wrestling is going to just dominate him. I don't know about a first round finish, but if the first round finish odds are good, I would take Isaac Dogarian. But I think the key to victory for Christian Rodriguez is if he can make it out of the first round and not get finished, I think it's going to be a different fight, because we've never seen Isaac Dogarian out of the first round. But I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a hard time getting him out of getting through the first round against Isaac Dogarian. So for my official pick, I'm going to take Dogarian in this one. Even though I really wanted to take the experience in this one, I got to go with Dogarian.
For me, when I look at this fight, I think, why did Christian Rodriguez take this fucking fight? At 145, there's so much more notable names.
Yeah.
And with so much more or so much less risk. Christian Rodriguez is a proven guy. This guy beat Raul Rosas, who was supposed to be the next big thing. And then he goes on to beat Cameron Simon, who's also supposed to be the next big thing. Cameron Simon has really good striking. And then the opposite with Raul Rosas, who shows good grappling. So that you see this guy can be specialist in either direction. But I mean, across from him, he has Isaac Dogarian, who, like you said, is a first round fucking beast. This guy has it all. He's a wrestler. He can submit. He can strike, and he has power too. So, I mean, this is a fucking exciting one for me. I think I'm gonna have to lean on experience in this one and take Christian Rodriguez. Yeah. He's proven that he is a real deal. Isaac Dogarian, maybe there's still a few questions. What happens outside of the first round? What happens when he fights someone more experienced? Because even Francis Marshall is not that experienced, right? Yeah. But Christian Rodriguez is. He's been in the UFC, maybe 4 to 6 fights. But yeah, I'm gonna lean on Christian Rodriguez to take this one, and I'm gonna say by decision. And I think it is gonna be 29-28. Isaac Dogarian taking the first decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, another thing I noticed with Christian Rodriguez is his last fight, his boxing defense was a little questionable. I mean, after the first round, his boxing defense kind of loosened up a little. And I don't know if that's going to matter against Isaac Dogarian, though, because I think Dogarian is going to be chasing the finish on the ground. But the best strike I've seen from Christian Rodriguez is his knee, his up the middle knee and his elbows. He has very good knees up the middle. So if Isaac Dogarian shoots a sloppy shot, he's going to get met with a knee by him. But I still got to go with my boy Dogarian on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're on opposite sides, because this one, I mean, deserves two-way action. This one is this is a good one. It's going to show a lot in that featherweight division. I think either one of these victories is going to put them in the top 15, and, that's exciting. All right, next fight on the card, we have OSP, Ovin St. Preux versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. This is also a good one, but I think looking at this fight, it's gonna be experience versus up and coming, because Kennedy is not. I mean, he's had his up and coming, right? But I mean, I think he still has a chance to build back. He was on a pretty good streak, beating some pretty good people up until he ran into fucking Dustin Jacoby's right hand. So I think this one's going to go into the later rounds, and I think Kennedy's going to edge it out. I think OSP is a little bit too old for my liking. I think he's 40 years old, and I think his time is over. I mean, he had his shine, he had his rise to the top. He has had very very tough fights fighting the top of the top, but I think the age factor is going to be a little bit too much for me, and I'm going to take Kennedy in this one.
Yeah, this fight, I don't think it's gonna be very exciting. I think it's gonna be a one-sided fight. I don't think OSP has had it in him since like the last 3 fights. His last win was against Shogun Hua, and that was one of the most boring fights I've ever seen. Like rewatching that fight, it was hard to watch, and it wasn't really all his fault. But he is not someone that comes out there with energy like Kennedy and Zechku. He doesn't come out with energy like him. He starts off very slow. All of his punches kind of seem labored. I think that everyone just gives him a lot of respect because of his power. He's very powerful and very capable of knocking anyone out. But I think with Kennedy's pace and his pressure, he's gonna have I think it's gonna be a quick night for him. Given OSP's last fight against Felipe Lins, he went out there, got hit a couple times, and just turtled up and just took the loss. And then after the fight, didn't look like he was very interested in doing anything at all. And he's 40 years old. He's fighting an up-and-coming kid who I think, I'm just going to say, his last fight, I bet Dustin Jacoby by knockout. So that's the only reason why I was happy. But, I mean, it was a quick stoppage. Like, if you rewatch the fight, I mean, he had some more left in him. And he's been able to bounce back from worse than that before. So I'm taking Kennedy by murder, first round.
It's a good pick. I mean, we're on the same side, but yeah, I don't know if he'll be able to finish. But yeah, going to the next fight, which I think is shit. If the other one's not going to be fight of the night, Christian Rodriguez, Isaac Dolgarian, this one's going to be. It's going to be Pooh Bear, Brian Battle. I know he has a different nickname, but that's not the one I know him by.
Yeah, that nickname's stupid. I don't like it.
I don't know what it is, but going against Ange Losa, which is, I mean, it's exciting. Ange Losa looks like a pretty good prospect, but yeah, go ahead. I think you're a bit excited to break this one down.
Yeah, no, this is my favorite fight of the night. I think this fight is going to be fight of the night for sure, just because Brian Battle comes out there every single time looking for a finish, and so does Ange Losa. He comes out there in the first round. He looks very explosive, throws a lot of really big overhead strong strikes, pushes people against the cage. But Brian Battle has, I mean, when I was breaking down all of his last 3 or 4 fights, just watching him frame by frame, I mean, he has the very good technique. He honestly reminds me of what's his face, Jack Della Maddalena. He's just very calm, very patient. He has explosive power in either hand. It doesn't matter which hand he hits you with. He has great wrestling, and he's only gotten better and better each and every fight. And his sole loss coming in his last 3 or 4 fights was against Renat Fakhretdinov.
Yeah.
And that dude is a savage. So, and he went 3 rounds with him. He tried to grind it out, make it a close fight, but the wrestling of that dude's wrestling is just too good. But Brian Battle, he's looked only better from there. He has great wrestling, great boxing. He has very little holes in his game. He uses his front teeth kick like better than any fighter I've ever seen. He uses this jab. He's got all straight punches. None of his punches are wild and looping. If you go back and watch his last finish against, I had to look at. I forgot who his last finish was against. It was like a 20-second fight. It was Gabe Green against the Gabe Green fight. A powerful, explosive guy like him, comes in there and pushes him against the cage, and he just uses his patience, waits, and then bam, hits him with I think it was a right or left hook, knocked him out cold. So I think that this fight with Ange Losa's explosive power and pressure, he thinks he's going to push him against the fence, and he's just going to get met with a knee and elbow. I mean, Brian Battle, he does it all. He's got good knees, he's got good elbows, he's got good jiu-jitsu, wrestling, defense. I think this fight is going to end up staying closer to the middle of the ring, the octagon, and Brian Battle's just gonna edge it in the very beginning, and then the second round, I think he's gonna turn it up. And I think I know Angelusa has never been finished in the UFC, but this is the fight that he gets finished. Just like AJ Fletcher and Brian Battle's last fight, he had never been finished, and Brian Battle finished him. I think this fight is going to be pretty one-sided for Brian Battle. I think a lot of people might disagree with that, but if you rewatch Angelusa's last few fights, when he gets into striking battles, he relies on his wrestling, just his powerful pressure to get the takedown, and he leaves his chin wide open. I have it written down 17 times, all of his last fights. Every time he gets in an exchange, his head is just wide open, and his body is square. He keeps his body square, which is going to be perfect for Brian Battle's teep kicks to the body. And then his jab is gonna open up the jab, and then it's gonna open up a leg kick. If I gotta narrow it down, I gotta say it's gonna be a head kick KO for Brian Battle, probably round 2.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an award for most improved fighter, I think Brian Battle would definitely be in the conversation. This guy went from being last pick in the Ultimate Fighter to going on to winning it, beating the fucking boogeyman from that season, Trayshawn Gore. He beat Gilbert Urbina, who earned his way after Trayshawn Gore got injured. And since then, he's only looked better and better every fight, right? He went from those decisions, but this guy can do it all. He can submit. He has knockout power, and he's starting to become a lot more technical. So, yeah, I see this guy rising all the way to the top of the division. I'm going to take Brian Battle as well by TKO finish, and definitely probably a performance of the night. And, by the way, the nickname is The Butcher. Brian the Butcher Battle. How did I still like Pooh Bear better?
The Bachelor Butcher. Hey.
All right, main event. We have 2 fucking massive guys coming into the octagon. Heavyweight fight. Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. Which way are you leaning?
So, going back and watching Tai Tuivasa's last few losses, he doesn't look bad in his losses. His main issue that I've seen in all his last losses and previous losses is that he sticks around in the pocket too long because he wants to show that he's tough. Like in all of his fights, when you listen to his coaches in the corner, they're like, "Tai, you don't have to show this guy that you're tough. We all know you're tough." And then Tai just does it over and over again. He sits he'll land a good strike or get hit, and then he just stays there, and he's like, "We're gonna finish it right here." And ultimately, it ends up to him sometimes losing, sometimes knocking out people, like the Greg Hardy knockout, which is one of the most fun knockouts to rewatch over and over. But yeah, I think this fight out, I think he's going to be different. He's got to know that he could definitely finish Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura has decent straight striking. He throws a lot of straight punches. He has all right wrestling. He utilizes wrestling in his last win. But it wasn't really wrestling. He just pushed him up against the cage and then got the takedown, sort of just bulldozed him. And then he's decent, but I just don't see this fight going any other way besides Tai Tuivasa landing his big shot. I think the key to victory for Tai Tuivasa, though, is to be patient in this fight. I don't want to see them go toe-to-toe in the middle and just slug it out like Tai Tuivasa wants to do. I want to see him work his calf kick is excellent for a heavyweight. There's not many heavyweights in the UFC that can land a calf kick like Tai Tuivasa. His calf kick, his jab, and his inside pressure is amazing. It's just he needs to get in and then get back out and then reset. Get the calf kick, land his jabs, land his hooks, and the knockout punch is going to come. Especially because he's got 5 rounds to do it. And I overheard his coach, and I think his fight with Cyril Gane. He said, "Tai, the second round is your round. This is your round. This is the round where you finish everyone." So if you were to take Tai Tuivasa in this fight, I'd say he grinds out the first round, lands his calf kicks, his jabs, and gets his inside pressure working. Marcin Tybura probably attempts the takedown because he knows he's going to get knocked out. And then the finish comes in the second round for Tai. I really hope that's how it goes because I want to see Tai back in the winning column again.
Yeah, Tai was on a huge winning streak. Everyone was saying this guy is improving, this guy's striking improving, and then bam, somehow relapses. You know, he had a 5-fight win streak, and in each one he was looking more and more technical. And then he ran into Cyril Gane, who's at the top of this division. You know, an elite kickboxer, and I mean he proved that he's an elite kickboxer and just whooped his ass. Tuivasa had some Tuivasa had some good moments in that fight, but I mean, they were very far and few between. After that, he ran into the scariest fighter of all time, Sergey Pavlovich. Who, I mean, no one wants to fucking fight. And again, got outclassed in the striking realm. And then he runs into another guy who's fucking also at the top of this division, super technical Alexander Volkov. And he got pieced up in that one too, and then ended up getting submitted. But I think this is a fight where Ty will get back on his feet. I think this is a fight where he'll, go back into the lab and just figure it out. He's taken about 6 months off. I think a little bit more, maybe 7, 8 months off. And so I think hopefully he comes back into this with a straight head and just come back in here and gets a victory. I'm going to go first round knockout just because Marcin, he's not a volume striker. He's not he's not a specialist in anything. So I think he'll be able to run straight through him.
Yeah, his fight with Tom Aspinall. I know Tom Aspinall is a different fighter, and he's a great striker. But that fight really sealed the deal for me with the Tai Tuivasa. I think Tai Tuivasa has hands that can knock anyone out. Obviously, he knocked out Derek Lewis, but he's also had one of the hardest strength of schedule for any UFC heavyweight fighter. He's fought Sergey Pavlovich, Derek Lewis, Cyril Gane, all back to back to back. And Cyril Gane, he found a lot of success in the Cyril Gane fight because Cyril Gane is not a fighter to hang around in the pocket like the other fighters were. So Sergey Pavlovich was able to finish him so early because Sergey will stand and throw down with you just like Ty does. But if Ty would have bounced in and out a little more, I don't know how the hell you do it against Sergey Pavlovich. Tom Aspinall did it. You just gotta stay at bay and work his calf kick. I think it could have been a different fight. But yeah, let's hope that Tai Tuivasa comes out there patient because he knows he can finish him and knocks this dude out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, these are underrated fights. Maybe this is only a fight card for the non-casuals. The non-casuals can sit. The casuals can sit this one out. So yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good night of fights, and we'll see how we end up doing with our picks.
Yeah.
All right, bud. You got anything else?
No.
All right. I mean to say this in the beginning, but fucking like, fucking subscribe. Stop being bitches. All right. That's it. We're out.